Your nightly news with Rachel Williams begins now.
Good evening, everyone. As many states across the nation battle to contain new outbreaks, Tasmania celebrates 42 days of no known cases of coronavirus. Meanwhile, in New South Wales, tough new measures will begin being enforced from Monday, forcing return travellers in hotel quarantine to be tested before they leave. If they refuse, they'll be made to stay another 10 days.
Travellers locked up in hotel quarantine could have their stay extended.
Everybody must absolutely be tested, and if you don't, then you'll have to serve another 10 days in our quarantine hotels. 24 days in total. The exit test changed from optional to mandatory after it was revealed 233 people had refused to take one. Health authorities discovering some were covering up symptoms over fears they'd be locked up longer. It's very frustrating that a small group of people who we have helped to come back to our country would then refuse the test.
There's no evidence any of those people were released and then spread the virus, but the government doesn't want the risk. If a return traveller refuses to take a coronavirus test, health authorities will send in a doctor to explain how the virus could affect their health, but also how their refusal to cooperate could derail the community's hard work to contain the virus. Victoria could follow after a third of people in their hotels rejected the test.
We are seeking legal advice on that. We would like to see as many people in that program to be tested as possible.
The state today recording its worst result in almost 3 months, 41 new cases. The Australian Defence Force on the ground to help with the testing blitz. Across the country, Western Australia in a very different state. Restrictions eased at midnight. The 1 person per 2 square metre rule still in place. That clearly broken.
I'm not rushing to a 2 square metre rule. I think the 4 square metre rule is adequate.
The federal government is providing an additional $1.5 million to Tasmania to go towards projects aiming to eliminate domestic violence across the state. The money will fund 15 separate projects, including additional support for young people in rural communities and an app to support those seeking help. Recipients include Relationships Australia Tasmania and the Women's Legal Service. If you or someone you know needs support, you can contact 1800 RESPECT. The federal government's boost to the super rate has received support from many Tasmanians. A new poll revealing 3/4 of locals surveyed welcome the plan to slowly increase super from 9.5% to 12%, set to occur from July 2021. A small group of backbenchers has called for the rise to be scrapped due to coronavirus. After noticing a lack of innovative spaces in their small Tasmanian town, a pair of creatives have designed a new DIY art space. It's hoped to inspire people with learning disabilities, and so far the results have been eye-opening.
On the outskirts of Basins Field, a colourful and complex workspace with a simple purpose.
Rascal Robot is a place for creative people.
Tailored to young minds with an artistic flair they sometimes need to unleash.
The point is they come in and they explore materials and skills that wouldn't normally have access to.
Sarah Farrington and her team transformed the area at the start of this year. Demand was huge, the tables were overrun with chaotic creations, then coronavirus struck. But they're preparing to be back up and running again, working hand in hand with the most vulnerable.
Children who have been affected by poverty, trauma, family and domestic violence.
As well as adults living with disabilities. Some have touted it as a form of art therapy. Organisers say each lesson is more groundbreaking than the last.
By just sitting down and even just being able to squeeze some modelling clay or scribble on a piece of paper, it's a way for them to get all of those feelings that are welling up inside of them out.
Rascal Robot is preparing for a new school holiday program which begins on July 6. Garth Burley, 7 Tasmanian News.
2 Tasmanian runners are embarking on a mammoth effort tomorrow, running for nearly 8 hours to raise money for charity. Grace Tame and Eloise Warren say they're motivated by the Black Lives Matter movement and hope to inspire others to raise awareness of human rights issues.
Grace Tame has a passion for advocacy and creating social change. The Let Her Speak campaigner is proof that one person can make a significant impact. Tomorrow, along with cousin Eloise Warren, she's turning another one of her passions, running, into a fundraiser for a good cause.
We are going to run for 7 hours and 17 minutes. That's 437 minutes, one for every Indigenous death in custody since 1991.
We cover about 60 kilometres a week, just normally. We love to run, so I guess it's about taking an everyday act and giving it a little more meaning and purpose.
Completing a final pre-challenge run today, Grace says she was inspired to undertake the feat by friends in the US who ran for 8 hours and 46 minutes in memory of George Floyd and the greater Black Lives Matter movement.
I wanted to do a similar event here but with a more local focus because we obviously have our own issues, our own history of corrupt systems that we really need to shed more light on.
The women will be completing the challenge along Hobart's eastern shore, aiming to raise more than $5,000 to be split between 3 charities supporting Indigenous rights.
We often think, I don't know about this, it's not my place, like how do I help? But I think that as long as you're coming from a place of love and positivity and wanting to come together, you can make a difference.
To donate, visit the Minutes for Movement GoFundMe page. Ebony Ablett, 7 Tasmanian News.
As the state eases more restrictions, young Tasmanians are being encouraged to take up a sport. One sporting program is increasing its support to help fund the costs associated with participating.
Booting back into training. These footy stars in the making say it feels good to return to the oval.
Good, I missed it a lot. Good as, and it's way better than staying at home.
Competition sport, increasing the number of participants and staff to 250 indoors and 500 outdoors, as more COVID-19 restrictions eased in Tasmania yesterday, with the past few months a struggle for many sporting groups, including Brighton Football Club.
I feel disappointed for the seniors because they were ready to rock and roll first year back, and they sort of got, it's a big stop sign put in front of us.
Now with spectators also allowed back to watch, the state government is encouraging more kids to take up a sport by doubling vouchers for the Ticket to Play program to give to kids aged 5 to 17.
So doubling the Ticket to Play to $200 is going to help so many families and so many sporting organisations get back on the field.
It is very vital to get the numbers up in our sport. So anything that's going to benefit any of the clubs, I think is fantastic. Every kid should have the right to play sport, doesn't matter which sport it is. So I think this is just outstanding.
The program has issued around 6,000 sport vouchers so far. Ruby Kamane, 7 Tasmanian News.
The RSPCA says it's concerned by a surge in feral roosters roaming Tasmania. The peak animal welfare body believes they have been dumped by people who bought chickens in isolation. CEO Jan Davis fears the birds will not only become hunted by wild predators, but create hazards on our roads.
People swerve, trying not to hit them, and that can cause car accidents.
She's encouraging owners to look at options to rehome any unwanted fowls. The state's new fish feed production facility has undertaken its first major international shipment. The order to New Zealand containing around 200 tonnes of king salmon fish feed, the equivalent of 10 shipping containers worth. The $67 million Biomar mill at Wesleyvale is aiming to provide up to 110,000 tonnes of feed a year for domestic and international markets.
Good evening. 12 degrees right across the board for Tasmania today in Hobart, Launceston, Burnie and Devonport. The state's highest temperature was 14 degrees for King Island and Friendly Beaches, 13 at Cape Grim, Low Head, Smithton, St Helens, Campania and on Flinders, 12 for Scottsdale, Wynyard, Bushy Park and Strawn, 11 at Sheffield, Medina and Ouse, with a top of 8 degrees for Lyowini after a very chilly -5 overnight. The charts show mid to low cloud about the west, a mid-level band passing over the eastern half of the state this afternoon. Further out, mid to low cloud over parts of Victoria and South Australia, as well as southwestern WA, the remainder mostly cloud-free. Tomorrow shows a high pressure system over eastern Victoria, extending ridges over Tasmania. A cold front crosses WA, while a trough sits through central Queensland. North to northwesterly winds tomorrow 10 to 15 knots, more westerly about the east, increasing 20 to 25 knots about the south and the southwest, seas between 1 and 2 metres higher through the south. There is a road weather alert for icy conditions across Tasmania tomorrow morning and a minor flood warning for the Macquarie River. Onto the forecast, 11 degrees tomorrow in Hobart and Richmond, morning frost for Ooze 12, morning frost and sunny days through the north, Launceston 11, 10 degrees for Devonport and Deloraine, 11 in Burnie and Strawn, 12 and cloudy for Curry, with early frost, 12 degrees for St Helens, Swansea and Whitemark. Looking ahead, a fine day expected on Monday, possible showers in the south and the west early on. Showers spreading from northwest to the west and the north on Tuesday. Pretty fine elsewhere, with similar conditions expected again on Wednesday. Looking around Australia tomorrow, storms for Perth 20 degrees, 17 in Adelaide and Sydney, a foggy start and 14 for Melbourne with 21 the top in Brisbane, and showers for Cairns 27. Rach, it's a mostly clear evening this evening, 6 degrees in Hobart and Launceston, 5 for Devonport. That's all for weather.
It's getting cool. Thank you very much for that, Sam. Well, before we leave you tonight, a cute little baby giraffe is celebrating his first birthday at Mogo Zoo in New South Wales. Meet Khan. He was a little wobbly on his feet when he was first born, and his family miraculously survived the summer bushfires. The country's largest tower of giraffes marked the special occasion with a salad cake, topped with a number 1 made out of a carrot.